Walt Whitman till now makes the rain talk about the whole cyclic process of rain, talk about its magical influence, talk about the energizing, the life-giving force that rain is. And suddenly the poet takes us to a different shift altogether. He takes us to a different philosophical point of view and says that like rain, a song or a poem is also something which purges. The last two lines are put within brackets because they are not a part of the dialogue between the rain and the poet, and thus not an integral part of the poet's experience of the rain. The lines reflect an afterthought on the part of the poet and finally comment to the larger idea of the reference to rain. As poem of art in the dialogue, the final two lines draw another direct link between the rain and poetry, or song, which is after all a poetry. The poet therefore draws a parallel between the rain and music, as both have rhythm and ability to rejuvenate and beautify life. Whitman, towards the end, transcends from this simple process of water cycle of rain to higher philosophy and connects this whole process to the birth of poetry. The poet here in the last two lines is making a parallelism between the journey of a rain to that of a song. According to these lines, poetry starts by stemming from a birthplace, that is, from poet. A beautiful poetry comes from the heart of the poet, then enters a period of fulfillment, which likely means its evolution into a final shape or form. Then it moves into a period of wandering, during which readers encounter it via publication. The music or poetry that originates from the heart of the poet travels across the world far and wide from one person to another. After completing the poem, the poet sends it out to the readers. The phrase wrecked or unwrecked is an archaic way of saying cared or uncared for, meaning that only some of the poem's reader will care much about it and appreciate it, and some will not recognize or appreciate the good work. But regardless of how many people did or did not derive meaning from the poet returns to its origin. That means to the heart of the poet with love and appreciation, granting its creator a sense of satisfaction with having written it. Just like rain originates from the earth and travels from earth to sky and falls back on earth with love, in a similar way the poem or song originates from the heart of the poet, travels across the world, and comes back to the poet again in the form of appreciation. For both rain and poetry, it is not a matter of concern whether they are loved or not, heard or not heard in their journey. What matters to them is the fulfillment of the task given to them and then coming back to their birthplace. Just as rain comes back to earth, similarly the poem comes back to the poet. The word love also adds a new layer of meaning to the roles of both rain and poetry. It seems that their respective connection to the earth and to humanity are emotional, rather than simply natural and unpreventable. The function of the rain and song can also be compared as whatever rain touches beautifies and purifies on earth. Similarly, a beautiful poetry travels far and wide, and any mind it touches, it has an indelible impression. It gives ideas and inspires the reader to create their own poems, and beautifies the minds of the reader. A good poetry or song always refresh people's mind and heart. Poetry, like rain, is an act of love on the part of the earth, sustaining and enriching its occupants, just as rain sustains the land. Despite being in parentheses, the last two lines are some of the important lines in the poem.